We've had our Cybertruck now for almost a year, and although I get a ton of questions on our truck, there's one question in particular that I get the most, and it's about the rack that's attached to the back of this. Now, this rack comes from a company called Urander, a couple of guys out in California that came together for a solution for a rack on the Cybertruck that not just transforms the look of it, but really adds to the functionality of the truck. Now, as you look at my truck in particular, you probably see a lot of overlanding gear, which is great, but it does more than just that. Because it has a standard MOLLE paneling on it, you can really attach just about anything you can think of. In fact, we have our Starlinlk mounted right on the front, which is fantastic for some of the travels that we do. Of course, we have our rooftop tent, and when you put all of this together, there is so much more you can do. There's so much more to unlock with your Cybertruck once you get the Urander rack. So what you're gonna get with the Urander rack is a modular system that's actually pretty easy to install. It does take some time, but basically how this works is we use the 8 mounting points for crossbars, and in those 8 slots, we're gonna put up some vertical slats. Everything kind of attaches to that, and then depending on how many cross rails you want, you can install as few or as many as you'd like. That'll allow you to attach all the accessories that you want on the very top. For the sides, these walls all just mount straight on with a couple of bolts, so you can get your own mounting equipment for whatever it is you're trying to strap on the side, because again, it's just a standard MOLLE pattern. So what you're seeing on my truck is mostly rotopacks. Everything is kind of modular through their system, but there are a number of brands out there that are basically set up the same configuration. You just mount these receiving handles and you can secure everything on there. So as you're bumping around the road, things aren't just jiggling everywhere and falling off. So we have our recovery boards here. We have 2 storage boxes here, which again from Rotopacks. This one here has a first aid kit in it, and my black box here has some of my recovery gear, things like straps and hooks and D-rings. And of course, the rooftop tent, this particular one from Inspired Overland. I like this rooftop tent because it's so thin when it's folded down, but it fits so nicely on the Urander rack. It actually leaves, if you follow me here to the front, that's where my Starlinlk is mounted. So there's still enough room. This is a standard Gen 3, so the big one, so to speak, and it fits very nicely on there. Also on the front, part of the design includes the most aerodynamic profile they could get, so you can see a nice curvature that matches the shape of the Cybertruck and keeps it as low as possible while still providing the functionality of a full rack. So it's not just usable from the 6 foot of the bedside, you actually have this whole section up here that you can also use, which is really convenient. Now inside the rack, you can kind of get a better picture since most of the gear is on the outside, but even on the inside, you're able to kind of double use the space. Again, MOLLE pattern, which is nice. So on the inside, I've got my shovel and my axe hooked up. So while we're on the trails, if we're in need of chopping up some wood to get it out of the way, or a shovel, of course, for digging out some tires that are buried deep, it's all right there, but you can see all of the real estate that is available, even on the inside. And also, you can mount upside down because you have so much real estate top to bottom here from the vault top that you can still mount stuff here. So if you want to eliminate any of the aero drag that you're going to have from having these boxes, as an example, sticking on the side, you can actually mount them inside of here and help reduce some of that drag. And then finally, we have on this side 2 very important things. Number 1 is we have 4 gallons of water. So what's nice about how Rotopacks designs these is you can have them individually, or they kind of mount together on the bottom, and then you can have one giant unit here, which is perfect because of course above me you're looking at our really cool 270-degree awning that comes in a hard shell. So the awning, this thing just recently released. This one's in a hard shell, which is nice because it helps to protect it from the weather. It doesn't get all dingy and grungy, but 270 degrees wrapping all the way around. The setup is so easy because the guys at Urander, what they did is to do this 270, it's actually dimensioned perfectly for their rack. So as it comes around the side of the truck, it just kind of lays flat against the very back. Also, you can see we have some pretty cool lighting inside of this, and that lighting gives you a nice ambiance at night. Of course, you can change the brightness, higher, lower, whatever you like, but this gives you a nice retreat to get away from the sun while you're out on your adventure. Now, of course, everything that you've seen today on this video is just what I've done with mine. The possibilities are endless with this thing, but when it comes to installation, this is one of the bright spots. This thing is made to be DIY friendly. Now, it's going to take a couple of hours to do the full install, but once you lay everything out on the ground, installing it is pretty modular. First, we're going to install our structural vertical supports. Once these are in place on the ground, we're going to actually completely assemble the top of this. And once that's complete, you're literally going to slide it into place, attach a couple of bolts, and now the top and the sides are all mounted perfectly. And then finally, we can add all the MOLLE panels on the sides. That's literally all you have to do to install this. It is nice to have an extra set of hands if you're lucky. For me, my 6-year-old was very interested in helping me, so I had the perfect helper to get this thing put together. But installing this, even taking it off after, is not too big of a job. So whether you're here in the Valley of Fire or you're on your way to the Arctic North, all the way to the ocean, the Urander rack is perfect for all